Okay, public sector accounting, topic 1, introduction to public sector accounting. You have the textbook with you now. You can refer chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 of this book. Okay, so basically topic 1 covers 3 chapters of the textbook. Okay, right. So this are the outline of this topic. Yeah, introduction to public sector accounting. So after we finish covered topic 1, we should be able to define what is public sector, what are the features of public sectors, especially what are the features of public sector in comparison with the private sector. And then the differences between public and private sector, what are the separation of powers applied in the public sector organization, and then government administrative machinery. Okay, this is the definition of public sector. Yeah, public sector and government, it refers to economic and functions that deal with the delivery of goods and for the government. So basically, role of public sector or functions of government cover 3 things, yeah, economic, political, and also social. Okay, so a government refers to a body that has the authority or political power to make and enforce law within a country. So what is the main difference between public sector and government? Okay, role of public sector maintain, yeah, economic, political, and social. Okay, we cannot change the role of public sector, but we can government. Okay, like what we did in Malaysia, we can change from Barisan Nasional to PH and then change to Perikatan Nasional. Okay, because the government is only a political body to manage the public sector organisation of the country. Okay. Okay, so here is the detailed definition of public sector organisation. You can go through on your own. Okay, so these are the key role of the public sector. The main role of public sector is to aspiration. So number 1 is to enable a conducive and vibrant economic environment. So this is to support the economic environment. Okay, and number 2 is to facilitate growth and competitiveness of the industry and the private sector. So the government will facilitate the private sector to improve the economy because the private sector will pay the corporate tax to the government. And then number 3, to support the country's manpower needs. Okay, public service PSD or Jabatan Pertahanan Awam, JPA, is the main government agencies that control the country's manpower needs. Okay, so they will do the analysis on the number of public sector servants who should hire in government agencies. Number 4 is to enhance the quality of life of Malaysian citizens. So this one focus more on the social responsibility of the government by providing structure, healthcare, education, and etc. Okay, so these are the features of public sector. Now I would like you to take a piece of paper, blank paper. Yeah? So let us do this together. Blank paper. Okay, we draw a table with 3 columns. 3 columns table. Okay. Are you following me? Okay. Can everyone see my table? Okay. So this is the table. We have the public sector, features in the middle, and private sector, like this. Okay. So 3 columns level, public sector, features or characteristic in the middle, and private sector. So we want to do the comparison of public and private sector. Okay, so in the middle we have characteristic or the features, okay, to differentiate between these two organizations. Okay, so features number 1. Okay, point number 1 under the feature column is stakeholder. Everyone following, you can use the meeting chat to respond. Group ni, group A, is everyone okay? Following, okay, thank you for responding. Very good, ingatkan dah tidur. Okay, thank you Ayu, Akila, Amirul, Ainul. Okay, so I assume the rest are okay. Alright, so point number 1. Okay, thank you Ilyas. Alright, oh ramai. Okay, thank you. Okay, so point number 1 is stakeholder. Okay, so stakeholder is the main, the first characteristic to differentiate between public and private sector. Okay, so now we need to determine who are the stakeholders of the public sector. Okay, first we do the private sector first because you are familiar with the private sector. Yeah. Okay, stakeholder of the private sector consists of the shareholders. Okay, so write down the shareholders and then the employee, the management, right? So those are the stakeholders of the private sector. Okay, now under the public sector column, we need to determine the stakeholders of the public sector. So it consists of the ministries, okay, the kementerian tu, ministries, ministers, menteri-menteri, okay, public sector servant, okay, those who are working in public sector, we call them as public sector servants or government personnel, okay. And then we also have the taxpayers, right? Because we pay individual tax as well as the corporate tax to the government. Okay, who else? Government agencies lah, okay, government agencies. Okay, so these are the stakeholders public sector. So that's why we call it as the first features of public sector is it has more institutional stakeholders. So institutional stakeholders refer to the ministries, ministers, the Senate, Dewan Negara, the House of Representative, the Dewan Rakyat. Okay, so these are the stakeholders of the public sector. Okay, so point number 2. Okay, so we are done with stakeholder. That is point number 1. Point number 2, framework. Okay, so now we would like to differentiate public and private sector within a framework features. Okay, so framework under private sector, you are familiar with MFRS and Companies Act. Okay, so Companies Act 2016, right? So these are framework that the private sector refer to when they prepare the financial statement. But under the public sector column, remember I introduced to you in first class, we have the Federal Constitution, Perlembagaan Persekutuan. So this is the main reference in the public sector, Federal Constitution. Okay, so you can just use the abbreviation, FC, refer to Federal Constitution. perlembagaan persekutuan. So this is the main framework. And then we also have the government accounting standard. Government accounting standard, GAS, yeah, GAS. And we also have the Financial Procedure Act 1957. Okay, Financial Procedure Act 57. Okay, basically you can download all these framework. It is available. You can just Google Federal Constitution, Government Accounting Standard, Financial Procedure Act. It is available online. Okay, so we are done with the framework of the public sector. Okay, so number 3 is the objective. So point number 3 is the objective. Okay, so what is the objective of public sector? Maximize profit so that they can maximize the shareholders' wealth. Okay, so that is the main objective of the private sector. Okay, there is a plurality of objective in the public sector because it refers to 3 main objectives. Number 1 is, number 2 is economic, and number 3 is social. Okay, so point number 1, political. The government, they want to maintain their political power as much as possible. Okay, they don't want to let their competitors or other parties take over their political power to manage the public sector. Okay, so point number 2, economic. They want to make sure the economic prosper. Social, they want to provide or exercise a social responsibility to the citizens. Okay, so these are the main objective of the public sector. Okay, under point number 4, you can write down point number 4, financial interest. Okay. So point number 4 is the financial interest. Okay, basically, private sector, we have a direct financial interest. So make sure the main point here is direct financial interest. Okay, what is direct financial interest? When the shareholders purchase shares from the company, they expect to receive dividend as a return from their investment. Okay, so when we buy shares, okay, we expect to get dividend in. It's a direct relationship. Okay, buy shares to get dividend. But under the public sector column, there is no direct financial interest or benefit to the contributors of resources. Okay, so you can write down no direct financial interest. Okay, why? Because when we pay tax, individual tax or corporate tax, we don't receive any dividend from the government. Okay, we don't any dividend from the government, but we can enjoy better healthcare. Okay, we can also enjoy free education. We can enjoy better or good or well-maintained infrastructure. Yes, siapa yang raise hand tu? Okay, better infrastructure. Okay. So meaning that we don't receive any direct financial interest from the government. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes, if you have question, you can also raise your hand, unmute your mic, and then you can ask question directly. Okay. Okay, clear. Since there's no question, so I assume everyone understand, yeah? Okay. Point number 5, vary accounting principles and practice. So basically point number 5 is closely related with point number 2. Okay, it refers to accounting principles and practices being not being adopted by public sector. Okay, because under public sector we have several legal framework that we need to refer to. Okay, like Federal Constitution, Government Accounting Standard, and also Financial Procedure Act. Okay, so point number 5. Point number 2. Okay, so point number 6. Okay, political rather than financial control. So you can write control as the main keyword. Okay, control. Okay, so under private sector, it has financial control over political. Okay, financial control rather than political control. Okay, it is more on financial control because you can relate with point number objective, point number 3. Okay. Okay, because their main interest is to maximize the profit in order to maximize the shareholders' wealth. But under the public sector, it is political rather than financial control. Why it is political rather than financial control? Because they want to maintain their political power. When they manage to maintain power, they can control the economic, the social, and also the financial matters. Right. So we are done with the features of public sector in comparison with the private sector. So make sure you know how to differentiate between the features or characteristic of the public with the private sector. All right. Any questions so far? No. Yeah. Okay. So let us move on to, okay, so difference between public and private, you can read on your own later. All right, this is the power of government. Okay, so in Malaysia, the highest supreme power held by the YDPA, Young People Tuan Agong. So this is the highest of the supreme power in Malaysia. Okay, so under what we have the executive power, legislative power, and judiciary power. Okay, under executive power, we have the Prime Minister, the Perdana Menteri, the Cabinet of Minister, and also ministries. Okay, ingat ada 3, PM, Cabinet, and also ministries. Kementerian, menteri-menteri, and also the Prime Minister hold the executive power. Okay, under the legislative, we have Parliament, Senate, the Senate Dewan Negara, okay, House of the Representative Dewan Rakyat. So under legislative, we have Parliament, Senate, and also House of the Representative. Parliament, Dewan Negara, and Dewan Rakyat. Okay, under legislative power. Okay, judiciary power, we have the Chief Justice and also courts. Okay, Chief Justice. Peguam Negara, okay, Peguam Negara and courts in Malaysia, okay, they hold the judiciary power. Okay, dia power. Alright, so in Malaysia we exercise, this is our current practice, yeah, parliamentary democracy. We exercise a constitutional monarchy, institusi raja berperlembagaan, right? And we also exercise a separation of power between executive, judiciary, and legislative, meaning that nobody should have absolute power than those in the legislative, meaning that, okay, those under the executive, they cannot hold any position under the legislative power. Okay, for example, the Prime Minister, they cannot hold position as Chief Justice. So it cannot be the same person, okay? and judiciary or executive and right. So because we need to exercise separation of power to avoid conflict of interest. So the objective is number one to avoid conflict of interest and to ensure that a just and fair government as well as to avoid injustice. Right. Okay, what is the meaning of legislative power? Okay. So definition of legislative power, you can refer to Federal Constitution, Article 44. So keywords here is to make new laws or to amend or to repeal existing law. Okay, so this is the main power of the legislative power. Okay, under the legislative. So meaning that the parliament, the senate, and also the house of the representative, they have the power to make new laws, to amend existing law, to repeal existing law, to levy taxes or to change existing taxes or and expenditure of the public money. Okay, right. What is the executive power? You can refer to Article 39. Okay. The definition of executive power, it refers to power to formulate policy. Okay, meaning that the PM, the ministers, and also the ministries, they have power to formulate policies which will be implemented by the government. For example, we have the economic transformation, the wawasan kemakmuran bersama, the shared prosperity vision, announced by PM. That is the power exercised by the executive to formulate new policy. Okay, we also have the 11th Malaysia Plan. Okay, rancangan Malaysia ke-11. Okay, that is the power governed by the PM, cabinet, and also the ministries. Right. So that is the executive power. Okay, judiciary power, you can refer 121 and Article 122. It refers to power to hear and determine civil and criminal matters. Okay, keywords here is determine civil and criminal matters between two parties and to pronounce on the legality of any legislative or executive act and procedure. Okay, you can just understand the judiciary power by just looking at this sentence. Okay, hear and determine civil and criminal matters between two parties. Right, that's it. Right. Okay, so that is the judiciary power. Okay, so we are done with the features. Okay, objective of public sector, features of public sector, the power of the government. Okay, part 4 is the relationship between federal and state government. Okay. Right, wait. InsyaAllah, starting from next week, use the whiteboard in MS Team. Yeah. Okay. I am drawing the structure of government in Malaysia. This is the structure of public sector in Malaysia. The highest tier is the first tier is the federal government. Second tier is the state government, and the lowest tier here is the local. Number one, we have the federal government or the kerajaan persekutuan. Number two, state government, kerajaan negeri, and number three is local government, pihak berkuasa tempatan. Okay, so you need to refer to this structure when you want to relate with relationship between federal and state government. So now we would like to look at the relationship of and state government within the legislative relationship. Under the legislative relationship exercised by the Parliament, Senate, and also House of the Representative, we have to refer to Article 74 and Article 75 of Federal Constitution. FC is the Federal Constitution, right? Okay. Okay, the main keywords here is you must know that Parliament has more power to make new law matters that listed in the federal list or concurrent list. Okay, it is good if you have the textbook with you now because you can refer to textbook. I'm not sure whether you have the textbook or not. Okay, what are the federal lists and also the state list? Hmm. Okay, we have textbook with you now. Yes or no? No.
No, madam.
No. Okay.
Tak sampai lagi. Dah order.
Oh, dah order. Okay, ada yang yes. No, 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 no. Okay. But Akila, you have the textbook. You can turn to page 10. Page 10, table 1.3. Umu Alia. Okay. Okay, those yang ada textbook, you can refer to page 10 of your textbook. You can refer to table 1.3. Okay, the rest you have to listen to me. Draw a table consists of 3 columns. Okay, table with 3 columns. Okay, column number 1 is federal list. Federal list. Column number 2 is state list. And column number concurrent list. Okay. Federal list, state list, column number 2 and column number 3 is concurrent list. Concurrent, C-O-N-C-O-R-R-E-N-T. C-O-N, C-O-N, con, and current, C-U-R-R-E-N. Okay, concurrent list. Okay, done, yeah? Okay, so I list, we have education. Only 4, education. Number 2 is defense. Number 3 is health. Number 4 is international trade and industry. Education, defense, health, international trade and industry. Okay, I'm sure you are familiar with Ministry of Education, Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI. Okay, so basically under federal list we have the what we call matters or matters relate with the ministries in Malaysia. Okay, so we have MOE, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Industry. Okay, but you can take out the word ministry and left just the education, defence, health, international trade and industry because it relates with the matters under the federal list. Okay, column number 2, state list. Okay, number 1 is forestry. Perhutanan, ya, forestry and agriculture. Forestry, and agriculture. Point number 2 is land, tanah, matters that relate with land, hak milik tanah. Okay. 3 is state holidays. Okay, state holidays. And also Islamic revenue. Islamic revenues, for example, zakat and Baitul Mal. Okay. So under Islamic revenue. So there are 4 matters under state list: forestry and agriculture, land, state holidays, and also Islamic revenue. Okay. So meaning that these are the matters stated under state list. Meaning that state, they have power on this matter. Meaning that they have power to determine state holidays. That's why we have different state holidays in Malaysia. We have state holidays, I mean weekend on Friday and Saturday. But in Selangor, our weekend is Saturday and Sunday. Because that's why we say that the state government, they have power to determine all the matters under state list, right? And also when we pay zakat, it will go to the state government. Okay, what is concurrent list? It refers to the number 1 is scholarship. Scholarship, this is one, okay? Scholarship. Number 2 is social welfare, the well-being of the citizen, social welfare. Number 3 is town and country planning. Town and country planning. Number 4 is drainage and irrigation. Saliran and that lah, okay, it refers to macam sistem saliran, right? Okay, so what is concurrent list? Concurrent list meaning that both federal and state government, they have power on this matter. Okay, so if we draw a diagram, it will be like this. Okay, federal, state, okay. Wait, 100. Okay, so if you draw a diagram, it will be like this. This is the federal list, this is the state list, and this is the concurrent list, meaning that both federal and state government, they share the power on the list, on the matters listed under the concurrent list. Okay. That federal government and state list, they have power to determine the scholarship to be given to the public. Okay, so that's why we have the scholarship under JPA, that is under federal. We also have scholarship under state government. Okay, Yayasan Selangor, for example, so that is under state government. So meaning that both federal and state, they have power and to decide on matters under scholarship, because scholarship falls under the category of concurrent. Okay, concurrent. Okay, clear? Federal government and state government also have power on social welfare. So that's why we have Ministry of Women and yang Kementerian Wanita, Kanak-kanak semua tu kan. So they have power under federal government, they have power to determine the social welfare or the social well-being of the citizen in Malaysia. At the same time, we also have agencies under the state government to help the maintaining the social well-being of the citizen in the state. For example, in Selangor. Okay. So same goes for town and country planning, drainage and irrigation. Falls under the category of concurrent list. Okay, clear, yeah? All right. So now we come back to legislative relationship between federal and state government. Okay, under Article 74, it stated that Parliament may make laws on any matters listed in federal list or concurrent list. Okay, Parliament have power to determine or to decide on matters under federal and concurrent. Okay, this is the key word or the key point of Article 75. Yeah, should any state law is inconsistent with federal law, the federal will prevail. Meaning that if there is any conflict, yeah, to decide on matters under concurrent list, the federal government will prevail, meaning that the federal government has more power to determine matters under the concurrent list compared to the state government. All right, so that is the main points, okay, to highlight under the relationship between federal and under the legislative relationship. Okay, clear, yeah? Okay, okay, tak ada apalah, ini just further explanation, you can refer to Article 76, okay? As long as you understand, yeah, what is the difference between federal, state and concurrent, and then their relationship, right? Okay, under the executive relationship, okay, federation, meaning that the federal government, yeah, can make law based on the federal list or concurrent list, while state can make law based on state list and concurrent list. Okay, so when you refer to this diagram, then you understand. Okay, federal government has power on this matter, federal and concurrent. State government has power on state and also concurrent list. Okay, and Article 81. Cerita apa ni? Obligation of state towards federation. Okay, so state government that they comply with federal law applying to the state and not to prejudice the exercise of the executive authority of federation, meaning that they cannot exercise more power than the federal government. Okay, so this apply for the state government, all states in Malaysia, right? So they need to follow laws and regulations stated by the federal government, okay, or by the federation. Okay, continue. Article 18. Okay, tak ada apa, we can skip this one. Okay, so now we look at the financial relationship. Okay, so we are done with the legislative and also the executive relationship between federal and also the state government. Okay, so number 3 is the financial relationship between federal and state government. Okay, so if you refer to Article 110, okay, all taxation proceeds and other revenues to be accrued by federal government. All tax payment and other collection under revenue is to be accrued or we pay directly to the, or it will go to the federal government, okay, except for revenue under Part 3 10 Schedule of Federal Constitution to be owned by the state. So if you have the federal with you, now you can refer to Article 109, Article 110, 10 Schedule. Okay, 10 Schedule. Mana ni ya? Okay, Part 3. 10 Schedule. It is under page 282. Okay, you can download the Federal Constitution after this. Okay, so that you can refer to Part 3, 10 Schedule of Federal Constitution. What are the sources of revenue assigned to state? Okay. So these are the revenue that federal government cannot disturb, cannot kacau lah, okay. So if you want to refer to your textbook, you can turn to page, ada ke dalam textbook? It is not available in the textbook. Okay, Never mind, you can download the Federal Constitution letter and then you can refer to 10 schedule. Part 3, 10 schedule, page 282. Okay, ada tanda kat sini. Okay. So these are the list of revenue accrued to the state government. Okay. So example ya, revenue from toddy shop. Okay. Kedai arak. Okay. Toddy shop, land, mines, forest, okay, hasil-hasil tanah, hutan, galian, all will go to the state government. License we apply within the state, it will go to the state government. Entertainment duty, so when we watch movie, we need to pay entertainment duty, it will go to the state government. Okay. Rent on state property, apa lagi, raw water, we pay to the state government. Okay, cukai tanah, cukai pintu, okay, will be accrued by the state government. Okay, so these are the example of revenue accrued by the state government. Okay, but if we refer to Article 109, federal. Okay. So federal, okay. This is interesting, yeah. Article 109, Federal Constitution. Okay, federal government needs to provide capitation grant and state road grant annually to state. Okay, since all tax revenue and other revenue we pay directly to, will go to the federal government. Okay, so now federal government need to allocate. Okay, allocate capitation grant and also state road grant to the state. Okay, what is capitation grant? Capitation grant is based on the number of population of the state, meaning that the more citizen or the more people you have in your state, you will get more capitation grant from the state government. Okay, and state road grant based on the kilometers of road in your state. So it will be determined of based on the distance, okay, based on the kilometers of road in the state. So state road grant is being provided by the federal government in for maintaining the road in the state. Okay, so there are two grants provided by the federal, capitation and state road grant. Okay, capitation based on population, state road grant based on the distance or kilometer of the state. Of the road. Okay. Right. Clear, yeah? That is the financial relationship between federal and state. Okay, continue. Expenditure and financial commitment. Expenditure and financial commitments. Okay. Types of expenditure incurred by both federal and state. Okay. Apa types of expenditure? Number one is charge expenditure. Okay, so if you have the tax, refer to page, let me see, page. Who has a textbook, you can refer to page. This in chapter 2. Mana ni charge expenditure? Okay, take 2 minutes ya. Lihat jap, penat ya. Jadi saya ada borrowing power macam. Okay. Those who has the textbook, you can refer to page 12 of your textbook, chapter 1, chapter 1, page 12, expenditure and financial commitment. Okay, expenditure and financial commitment of both federal and state government, you can refer to page 12. Okay, what are the charge expenditure? Okay, You can write down. Charge expenditure example of salaries, pension, and also allowance. Okay, salaries, pension, and allowance. Okay. All the salaries, duit pension, and also allowance paid by the government. Kita biasa kan, government will pay allowance, okay, to the public sector personnel. Every year kan, biasa kan dapat macam duit raya, duit allowance untuk raya, bonus raya, okay, bonus hujung tahun. So that is expenditure. Duit-duit pension mak dengan ayah kita, that is under charge expenditure. And our salaries, okay, the lecturer salary also under charge expenditure. Okay, supply is more on operational expenditure in the government. Dia macam daily expenditure. For example, cost to purchase paper, stationeries, maintain printer, toner. Okay, so that is under supply expenditure. And development expenditure. Development expenditure is more on developing the infrastructure ataupun new highways, for example. Okay, so that is under development expenditure. Okay, in general, both federal and state should cover their own expenses. Sendiri punya expenditure, you need to cover your own expenses. Okay, so this is in general concept lah, general concept. Okay, should state unable to cover its expenditure, federal may finance the state expenditure on reimbursable basis, meaning that the government, the federal government will help the state to finance their expenditure, right? Okay. Okay, so under financial relationship between federal and state tadi, number one kita tengok dekat expenditure and financial commitment. Okay, so that is the first category, expenditure and financial commitment. So second is borrowing power. Okay, borrowing power of federal and state government. Okay, borrowing power. Okay, federation, yeah, the federal government, they may not borrow except under authority of federal law, and state may not borrow except under authority of state law. Meaning that both federal and state government, they need to refer to law whether they can borrow or not. Okay, meaning that they have to refer to the legal framework whether they can borrow or not for certain matters, right? So point number two, state law state to borrow except from, okay, here state government, they can only borrow from the federation. They can only borrow from the federal government, from the bank and financial institution that approved by federal government, and it must be not more than 5 years. So maximum is 5 years. Okay. So this is very important point. Okay, point number two is very important. Right, saya tak ada apa lah. Okay. And then, dah habis dah. Is the relationship, financial relationship between federal and state government under the borrowing power. Okay. Any questions so far? Can we continue with the structure of Malaysian government? Dah habis dah cerita on introduction, features, power, relationship. Okay. Okay, thank you. So now let's continue to the take 5 penat dah. Okay. So take 5 ya. Take 3 dah lah. Come back at 9:25. Okay. Take 3. Okay, semua can we continue? Rairul Irfan tu dah datang belum tu? Okay. Right, so let's continue with the with the definition of public sector accounting. Dah habis dah cerita pasal public sector organisation. Okay, now we want to look at the definition of public sector accounting, PSA. Okay, so this is the definition of accounting. Orang dah biasa, it is a process of identifying, classifying, recording, summarizing, analyzing and reporting on financial data and information in accordance with acceptance principle, concept, convention, standard and regulation. This is the meaning of accounting. But public sector accounting, it refers to accounting method practiced entities or non-profit organizations, okay, in the public sector. So the main aim is to establish a system for good public governance in managing public monies, okay. Because in corporate governance, we know that the management, they manage the shareholders' money in private sector. But in public sector, concept of good public governance also apply here because the government is managing the public monies. They are managing taxpayers' money, right? So they also need to maintain good governance. These are the components of accounting practices. So number one, they need to maintain books and reports. We need to prepare vote book, okay? So in our syllabus, we also need to learn on how to prepare vote book, okay? This is a calculation topic under fund account. And number two, we need to ensure that we comply with rules and regulation. So that's why we need to comply with the federal constitution, with the standard. We need to comply with the Financial Procedure Act, Audit Act, okay? This is to ensure the true and fair view of the prepared public accounts. So we need to put the public account, public financial statement, okay? And then the preparation of reports and statement must be prepared for the parliament approval, meaning that when the government agencies prepare the financial statement, they must get the approval from the parliament, okay? The National Audit Department by the Auditor General, Ketua Audit Negara, okay, will act as an external auditor to public financial statement before we endorse and submit to the submit for parliament approval. Okay. These are the structure of federal government. Kita dah tengok the structure of federal government. Structure. Okay, this one, structure of federal government, kan? We have federal, we have state and local government. Okay. Okay, the first tier, headed by the federal government. Under federal government, we have ministries, kementerian-kementerian. We have the department. So under ministries, we have departments. For example, under MOE, Ministry of Education, we have department for primary school, department for secondary school. We have audit, human resource department. We have transformational department, okay, purchasing department, okay. These are the departments falls under the same ministry, okay. And number two is the public enterprise. So public enterprise basically it refers to a business organization that wholly or partly owned by the state government. Okay, you can refer to page. Those who has the textbook, you can turn to page 19 and 20. Okay, 19 and 20, chapter 2. Okay, example of public enterprise are gas, okay, gas, utility, broadcasting, and also transport. Okay, so meaning that Radio Television Malaysia RTM, Rapid KL. These are category of public enterprise. Okay. And under public enterprise, we have the statutory and non-statutory body. Okay, what is statutory body? It relates to formal law. Okay, example, we have RISDA. Okay, RISDA. We have Feldang, MARA. Okay, that is under statutory body of public enterprise under federal government. Okay, under non-statutory, it is based on custom. We need that for specific purpose. For example, to provide affordable for citizen. So we introduce or establish UDA holdings perhaps. So that is a non-statutory body under PE, public enterprise under federal government. Okay. So for more example, you can refer to textbook. Okay, ada a list of example of PE. Alright. Second tier, state government. Okay. Under state government, we have departments or ministries. So in we also have ministry Sarawak, and we also have PE, okay, public enterprise. So under state government, kerajaan negeri, we also have department lah, okay, audit department, accounts department, human resource department, okay, and also public enterprise. So PE under state government, we also have statutory and non-statutory. There are the list of example. You can refer to textbook. Example of statutory bodies under Selangor, we have PKNS, okay. We have library dekat section 13 Shalam, okay, that is the statutory body under public enterprise. We have also the non-statutory body like UNICEF, okay, University Industri Selangor. UNICEF is under non-statutory body of PE in Selangor state government. Okay, you can refer to textbook page 21. Okay, the third tier, local authority. Okay, pihak berkuasa tempatan. We have city council, district and commissioner of city. What is city council? Dewan Bandar Raya, example MBSA. Municipal council, Majlis Perbandaran. MPAG ke dia nak buat J? Majlis Perbandaran. Okay, my previous student said Alu Gajah. Okay, AG is Alu Gajah. District Council, MDJ, Majlis Daerah Jelebu, for example. Okay, Commissioner of City, Majlis Bandaraya. Dewan Bandaraya, okay, DBKL. So DBKL is under Commissioner of City. Right? So done local government. This is the lowest tier of government structure in Malaysia, ya. Paling bawah sekali local government lah, pihak berkuasa tempatan. Okay, government accounting machinery tak ada apa sangat because it just explain the mechanism to implement government policies. Meaning that it explain the executive, the manpower, public sector organisation. Okay, so these are the three main levels. LG, okay. Okay, so under government administrative machinery, under the federal government, we have the we have the government institutional and agencies. Okay. All right, government. It is good if you can put your notes in mind mapping, yeah. Okay. It's like this. Government administrative. Okay. So basically, machinery of government, there are two types of machinery of government. Okay. Number one is administrative. Number two is accounting machinery. So accounting machinery kita akan cover together with fund accounting nanti. Okay. So now just focus on administrative. Okay. So the administrative machinery of the government, dia ada tiga anak. Okay. So number one is the institution and agencies. Number two is the administrative personnel. And number 3 is administrative system and procedure. Okay, buat macam ni. Number 1 is the institutional and agencies, government personnel, government system and procedure. So ada 3 kategori. Okay, so under institutional and agencies of the government, number 1 is required by the constitution. Wajib, the vested by the constitution, wajib ada. Okay. The perlembagaan. Okay. So apa yang required by the perlembagaan ni? Required by the constitution. Example of election commission. Suruhanjaya. We have the Suruhanjaya Pilihan Raya. Okay. Election commission. Public Service Commission. Judicial and Legal Service, Police Force Commission, mesti ada polis di Raja Malaysia. Okay. Education Service Commission. So these are the things under and also temporary commission. So temporary commission ni example salaries commission, for example. So this commission is being set up to revise the current salary of government personnel. For example, dia nak study cukup tak salary, current salary, or they want to improve ataupun increase the salaries of federal government punya the public sector servant, increase the salary of minister, for example. So they need to establish okay. So these are the example of institution that falls under the category of government, institutional and agencies that are required by the constitution. So number 2 is the agencies that are at the discretion of the executive. Maksudnya the PM, the ministry, they have power to establish all these agencies. Number 1 is kementerian, okay. Public enterprise, the council, the self-accounting ministry or department and committees. Okay, if you notice that once we change the government from previous to current government, there are some changes in the portfolio of the ministries. Okay, for example, last time we don't have the last time we didn't combine the MOE, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Higher Education. But once the PHTO both MOE and MOHE under the same ministry, meaning that the current government, they have power to determine the portfolio or the ministries of the public sector organisation in Malaysia. Okay, so these are the agencies at the discretion of the executive. Maksudnya PM and ministries are the power to determine the this type of agencies. Okay. Okay, types of government agencies. Number 1 is central, number 2 is managing, and number 3 is watchdog. Okay, kalau sebut watchdog, mesti we can relate to Malaysian Anti-Corruption, MACC, for example, because you are very familiar with this thing. Watchdog, we have MACC. So under managing, we have all these ministries, department and public enterprise lah, yang biasalah pengurusan. Okay. Central agencies is to coordinate and control other government agencies. Okay, what are the central can refer to? Okay, this slide pun ada Treasury, Perbendaharaan. We have PSD, Public Service Department. Some of you already give example of PSD for the first task that I give on Monday, right? PSD or JPA determine on the human resource size in Malaysia. And then we have EPU, Economic Planning Unit, Mampu, okay, Malaysian Administration and Modernization Planning Unit, and Implementation Coordination Unit, ICU. So these are the agencies that falls under the category of central agency, agency berpusat, okay. And government administrative personnel, it refers to those who work in public service field. So those who work in the public sector organization falls under this category. So you can just give example, lecturer, siapa lagi? Forces, police, okay? State public service, education service, teachers. So all of us are government administrative personnel. Okay? Any questions so far? So we are done with topic 1. Okay, anything you would like to highlight or you want to ask? I will upload tutorial question, topic 4, topic 1 on Monday. So Monday will be a self-study, yeah? Tutorial, and then submit on the same day. Your submission through Google Form will be recorded as attendance on Monday. Okay, do you have any question? I need to download your attendance for today first. Wait, don't leave the meeting yet. Let me download the attendance. Anything? You can unmute your mic. Clear? Is everyone clear? Oh, student kat rumah ni yang clear. Okay. Okay, siapa yang left ni? Okay, dah join balik. Fakihah left but you join again. Okay. Semua ada? Every Monday or just, okay. Just next week. Okay, I will respond here. Just next week because we are now in CMCO, right? So, I will give tutorial every Monday, but I will do lecture on Thursday. Okay. So you need to form your group because I will give first assignment for topic 2, government structure and legal framework. You need to form your group, consists of 4 to 5 members to draw a topic 2. I will give a detailed instruction later. Okay, anything else?
Madam, we provide the slides for us.
This slide.
Yes.
Slide for all topics, I will upload in class material. You can go to files, class material. There are 2 folders there. Lesson plan and also lecture notes. So it's under lecture notes. Okay, you can get it from the Teams. Anything else? Okay. So if everyone is clear, then I will stop the meeting. Stop the recording first. Okay, stop recording.